So today I'm going to talk about block diagrams and show people how to read and understand it. So I've got a couple of motherboards up on screen that I use. I've also got an RAG Maximus one as well. So this will help. I don't own this one, but this will help people also understand how to read block diagrams. So what I'll do is I'll start with the Z90 Oris Master. So this is so here you got like your 4 times M.2 slots, and then you got your PCI Express slots, like your RAM slots, obviously your processor, and how does that all sort of fit into making sure all your components are going to work? So if you plan on just building a computer and you just want to occupy a graphics card, and then maybe just this one Gen 5 sort of slot up here, or maybe one of these down here, it doesn't really matter. Like, you don't particularly need to know the block diagram that much. It's probably not going to affect you, particularly if you're just using just the one boot drive, maybe one SSD drive or just a regular hard drive. It's not really going to interfere with losing another slot or dropping down to 8 times in your PCI Express slots. So what I'll do is I'll just move over to the manual on this one. So here is the manual I've downloaded, and that's the motherboard. And if you see here, you've got M2M underscore SB, M2Q underscore SB. Doesn't really matter what these names are. It's just what they're labeling them as. For your diagram, it could be different, or any motherboard has something, whatever they want to call it. It's what they want to sort of call it. It could be MA, MB, AA, CC. Doesn't matter. It's just a number you just need to recognize when you're reading through the manual. So as you can see here, so you got like all your other bits up here. So your Marvel, sound. You got your SS SATA slots up here, RAM slots. Even your fan slots. Where do they all sort of go to? So what I'll do is I'll move down to the diagram here. So, so if you want to occupy all slots, this is pretty relative. Before buying a board, you should just sort of study this. You can even ask your where you're buying the board from, your computer store. I'm sure they'll explain it to you. If you're going to lose a slot or two for a board you're particularly after. So up here we've got our PCI Express x16 slot. So if you just occupy that, you'll get your full PCI Express x16 slot. And then also included here is your M.2 socket, which it's not saying it interferes with the bandwidth if you use your top slot there, but what it's saying down here, if you occupy the other 2 PCI Express slots on the board, you'll get 8 times on your main PCI Express slot here. So if you want to go back to the diagram, so if you're occupying this slot here, and then this slot down here, 8 times, your motherboard will revert to this speed down here. You'll get your bandwidth will be 8 times, not the full 16 times. So if you see here, you've got your M.2 socket 3, so your M2B underscore CPU. So we'll see that this one here, that one there, that means that's going directly to the CPU. And same with this one here. This one is going directly to the CPU. This one here, down below, is going to the Southbridge. Same with this one. This one's going to your Z890 chipset. Go back down again. And then here, your RAM, that is going directly to the CPU. On this one here, your two Intel Thunderbolt 4 USB-Cs, that's going to the CPU. And your HDMI DDI, that's going to the CPU as well. And then down below here, your Intel Z890 chipset. All the other stuff is going here. So you got your 4 SATA 6 gigabits. They're going to the Z890 chipset. And same with all the other stuff. Looks like your BIOS, your TPM is on there. You know, all these bits. I don't 100% know everything about what all these bits are on the board, but that's okay. You can still continue just to learn, you know, generally what you want to know, just in general for just learning about this stuff. All right. So hopefully that sort of makes sense. You know, when you want to buy a board. So as an example, I had a graphics card plugged into here, and I had a sound card plugged into here. So I'll just show you an example of a 3D Mark PCI Express test. So when I had the sound card plugged into that 8x slot, it dropped my 16 times PCI Express down to half the speed. So I was getting 13.27 gigabits. And then when I removed the sound card, this is the speed that I was getting. I was getting the full PCI Express, full 16 times. So I was getting 26.43. So so what we can do, so what I did, what you can do is see here, is you can move, like say if you had a sound card or an additional network card or just whatever card, TV card, whatever you want. If you moved it down into the 4x slot here, and it's just, that'll fit in there. And then, you know, as we saw on the diagram here, that one there, PCI Express 4, that goes into the Z890 chipset. So that doesn't interfere with your, you know, your bandwidth here. So you get your full bandwidth here. Alrighty. So what I'll do is I'll move on to like another motherboard, just as another example. So another board here is this Z790 Nova Wi-Fi board. I have to say it's a pretty good motherboard for the price and what you get. So what we do here is I'll go on to page 6 where I found some information. So once again, if you're looking at a particular board you want to buy, bring up the manual, have a read through it. Not everything's together. I find some manufacturers are a little bit convoluted in the way they provide you the information, make you read the whole thing instead of sort of stick it all together. Just make it simplified. So what this one is here. So if M2_1 is occupied, PCI Express 1 will downgrade to 8x mode. So if we go down to the block diagram, which is here, or we can have a look at just the motherboard. See PCI Express here, and then here this M2_1. If you're using the top PCI Express slot there, you'll drop your PCI Express graphics card down to 16 times. Now it only labels that that particular slot. Those two slots share the same bandwidth. That's where you're losing your full size speed. So you got like another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots on here. So it's a pretty good board actually. So you can throw like just general M.2s in there and still get pretty good speed on your hard drives. So if we go to the block diagram here. I'll just rotate that so you can see it a bit better. Okay, so this is why I reckon this board is particularly good. So you've got all this stuff here is feeding into the Z790 chipset. It's actually taken a lot. Stuff goes in there. It's kind of help protecting losing bandwidth for your main graphics card. But I take it, their design, they put a 6 PCI M.2 slots in there for you, which is quite a lot for a motherboard. So what we got here is, you got your M.2 slot here. That goes directly to the CPU. Your HDMI directly to the CPU display port. Your RAM, your A channel and your B channels, so all 4 slots. And then you got your Gen 5 PCI Express lane 1, so times 16. And then your M.2 here times 4 feeding into it. So that all goes in. So that's where it's saying it's sharing the bandwidth on these ones here. So the diagram's always a bit different, but you can generally work it out. It's not too hard, particularly if you've been building PCs for a while. As I said, if you're a beginner builder, but you only plan on getting like one M.2 and a SATA backup, or maybe 2 M.2s, you probably, doesn't really matter. You're not really going to occupy all slots. So you should be pretty right, once you see on the board where you can stick all your M.2s. So what I'll do is I'll just move on to this. Got this Z890 Extreme board up, Asus one. Sorry, I'm a little tired today, so I'm probably butchering a little bit of this, but hopefully it works out well. Okay, so here we go. I found this diagram is not the greatest because it's only giving you the name here. So they've got a slot here, slot there, slot there, slot there. And they're not telling you, exactly what they are. So you got to like scroll up, scroll down and find out exactly what it is, what the slots names are. So here in the block diagram, they got a note. So you got M.2 underscore 3 and M.2 underscore 4. Share bandwidth with PCI Express 16 G5, underscore 2. And then when M.2 underscore 3 is enabled. Yep, and then so they got down the bottom here, PCI Express X16. So that's your PCI Express full 16 bandwidth there. We'll run it 8 times, and PCI Express 2 Gen 5 will run it 4 times when M.2 underscore 3 and M.2 underscore 4 are enabled. So otherwise occupied. And here's another issue which is probably annoying. So you got PCI Express 16 G5 will run at 8 times, and PCI Express 16 G5 2 will be disabled. So you're going to lose a slot, an M.2 slot. So you got to find on the diagram, which PCI Express, that is going to be disabled. So it's this one here, but on other motherboards, you'll need to figure out which one it is. And then they'll, sometimes they cut off an M.2 slot, or here they're cutting off a PCI Express slot, which I find it's pretty disappointing, but they kind of make it up here with this side slot here is reserved for M.2s. So I don't know where it is in the diagram. Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, so you got an extra 2 slots they give you there, which is pretty good. And that looks like it goes directly to the CPU from where it is. Go back down. Oh yeah, here's a configuration for, actually, lose quite a bit. Here you got 16 times, 8 times, 8 times, 4 times, 4 times, 8 times. When you start occupying all your slots. So I hope this video sort of makes sense for everybody, for when you're looking for block diagrams, and particularly what they mean. So if you're building a PC and you plan to get a fair few devices connected, hopefully go through the manual first, have a look, see if it's the right one for you. I trawled through tons of manuals for me to buy this board, particularly because I could occupy all slots, get full bandwidth on here, and still have a sound card. So I can put my sound card in this slot here. I could occupy all 4 SATA, and I could have all my M.2s occupied and not lose any bandwidth on here. So the Nova Wi-Fi, if you're interested in that model, I know Z790 is not exactly for sale anymore, but Z890, something like that. The same with AMD as well. Its block diagram is still similar. Yeah, so I hope this video helps.